Alright, hey there guys. So today I want to make a quick video about talk about how I traveled for 1 year on less than 5,000 US dollars. Before I get into that, I'm just gonna say I'm here in beautiful Avon, Colorado. I got here about 2 weeks ago, I think. It's a surprisingly cool and cloudy June day here today. Like, it doesn't feel like an almost summer day, but it's great. Anyway, so let's get into this. How did I travel for 1 year on less than $5,000? Okay, so in order for me to kind of like explain to you how I did this whole thing, I kind of need to go back to the beginning and just go over kind of some of the things I learned along the way, because it definitely was a pretty big learning curve, and figuring out how to budget properly and everything while you're traveling was very important. So I started traveling a little over a year ago, about 13 months ago. Actually 13 months to the day today. It's June 3rd. I started 2018. I started traveling on May 3rd, 2017. And I started out with a trip. I took a backpacking trip by myself around Europe for about 5 weeks. And although I came in under my budget that I made for myself, I spent about $2,150 US dollars, I think, on that trip for about 5 weeks, which I thought was pretty good. I averaged about $30 something a day, which was pretty good. The funny thing is that in that 5 weeks there and traveling around Europe, I spent about half of my yearly budget for the rest of the whole year. I spent about half my budget in the first 5 weeks doing that trip, which is insane to think, because I mean, if you think about it, I spent less than 5,000 in a year, and I spent 2,150 in 5 weeks. So yeah, do the math there. That was for quite a few reasons. See, when I was traveling around Europe, I was staying in hostels, and I was kind of moving around every like 4 or 5 days. So, you know, when you're moving around a lot, you're paying, your transportation costs go up. I mean, pretty much everything goes up when you're moving around more quickly. And I think a big thing that I learned after that trip is that slow travel is a lot cheaper. So, after my trip to Europe, where I spent over $2 grand, and I actually thought that was really good because I came in way under budget, I decided to slow down my travels a bit. And actually, it had nothing to do, well, it kind of had a little bit to do with the money, but also it had to do with like my sanity, because I honestly kind of burned out when I was traveling that quickly. I just wanted to slow down a bit and spend more time getting to know each place I was visiting. Okay, so after that trip I took to Europe, I decided to slow down a bit, and I ended up getting a position at a hostel on an island in Puerto Rico called Vieques. It's off the east coast of Puerto Rico. And I have tons of vlogs from that, and so if you ever wanted to go back and see some of that stuff, you can go back. I have like playlists from each of my, you know, each place I visited. I have like a playlist of all the videos I made while I was there. But this was like fundamental to me being able to travel so cheaply, was working or volunteering while I was traveling. And for me, working at hostels is really what did that. That was the first hostel I worked at. The way that this kept my budget so low is that at the particular hostel I was working there on Vieques, we had our accommodation provided and all of our food provided as well. So we had our accommodation provided and all 3 meals every single day provided, which is basically almost all of your costs while you're traveling. Man, I went from spending over $2 grand in 5 weeks to the point where when I was in Vieques, I wasn't spending more than $100 a month, which is just insane when I think about it. For the most part, like my budget since last June, the end of last June when I started working in hostels, has been between $100 and $200 a month. And that's because my accommodation is always provided for me, and in a lot of cases, like at least some or all of my meals are provided as well, which keeps the cost way down. I mean, if you want to travel on a budget, working in hostels is a great way to do that, which all of mine I found on a website called Workaway, which I made a video about. There's some thunder in the background right now. There's a storm rolling in. Try to make this brief. Found all my hostel work on Workaway. Have a great time, make some amazing friends. I ended up doing the first hostel in Vieques in Puerto Rico. And then I was there for 3 months, and I ended up leaving the island because all the volunteers, we all had to leave because of Hurricane Maria, so we all kind of had to like evacuate, essentially. And then I ended up moving to San Juan, Puerto Rico, 2 of my friends that I worked with at the hostel in Vieques, and I ended up getting another job at a hostel there for another 3 months. And that was kind of the same deal, so that was 6 months, essentially, I was in Puerto Rico. Then I left Puerto Rico in mid-December of 2017, So whatever, about 6 months ago almost. And I went back to Florida for about 5 weeks, which is where my parents live, and my sister and my niece live there. My dad owns his own business there in Florida. So I worked with him a bit while I was back there. I made a little bit of money, but not like a ton. And then after that, I ended up getting in contact with a hostel in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And I ended up going to Dominican Republic in mid-January, and I worked at a hostel there 4 months. So, and they're all kind of like the same deal. All of them, you got accommodation provided, and some. Overall, that's a really great deal. I mean, if you like staying in hostels, then I definitely look into trying to work in some, because I kind of really fell in love with it, really. Like, I want to do it a lot more in the future. I'd highly recommend it. But there is a lot more that goes into budgeting other than just, you know, working places and getting, you know, free accommodation and food and stuff. That's obviously huge, and that's the biggest thing for me. Hostels, you know, working in hostels is really a game changer for me, and the reason I've been able to do this is because of Hostel Work. But there are a few other things I'd like to mention. I don't really drink, so alcohol can just destroy your budget. I've seen it happen to people that I've worked with, and yeah, it's expensive in a lot of places. So, you know, if you can keep your drinking consumption pretty low, or just don't drink at all, like myself, you're gonna save a ton of money, because it's expensive. But I like cigarettes, which I don't do because I don't smoke either. That saves a lot of money. Just not going out to restaurants to eat very often because they're expensive. It's way cheaper to go to the supermarkets and buy all your food and cook for yourself. I'm here in Avon, Colorado. I'm working in Vail for the summer, and obviously I have to kind of provide all of my own meals. So I literally go to the supermarket and I make all of my meals myself. I do not go out to eat because it's way too expensive, especially here. It's absurd how much the cost of living is here. It's ridiculous. And coming from a country like the Dominican Republic, where it's pretty affordable, it kind of blows my mind how expensive it is here. Okay, so now another thing I want to touch on: running out of money. Probably happens to every traveler at least once, or maybe multiple times, where you run out of money. Like I said, I started out with less than $5,000 that I started out with when I first started. And that lasted me for a long time. When I got towards the end of my time in the Dominican Republic, I was pretty low on money, and luckily I was able to live there very cheaply. I actually ran out of money when I came to Colorado a few weeks ago. I currently am living in employee housing here in Avon. I didn't have enough money to pay for my first month's rent. Expenses as I hadn't considered and didn't really know about it until kind of like last minute. Yeah, I thought I was gonna have just enough. Then I got here and I didn't have enough. And I actually had to borrow money from my dad because I was like, I don't have enough money. So luckily, you know, he helped me out there and, you know, sent me some money, and obviously I'm gonna be paying him back. Since I have a job now, I'm making money again. So, but yeah, I think that's something you gotta take in consideration, that if you're doing this life where you're traveling full-time, you're likely going to run out of money at some point. So that really covers it mostly for me, and how I've managed to travel very cheaply. And to be honest with you, if I had learned some of these lessons earlier on, I could have probably kept the budget a lot lower, and I could have used my money more efficiently. But you have to go through those experiences to really learn what works for you and what doesn't. Going in the future, you know, I'll use everything I've learned to budget well. Again, like, if you're interested in working in hostels, I recommend that. Even with like Workaway, there's so many different things you can do. I've just focused mainly on hostel work, but you can do so many different types of volunteering, like farm work and like working in people's houses. There's so much stuff. What I'm doing right now, I just got a seasonal job here in Colorado for the summer to save money. So you can even do that to make money, and just try and find seasonal work for a few months at a time to kind of, you know, build up your savings a bit. I think with all those things, budgeting properly, not spending money on unnecessary things, if you use all those things together and do your research, you can definitely travel fairly cheaply. I think I have more videos. I want to talk more about stuff like this, things I've learned, and maybe tell some stories along the way of some crazy things that have happened. That's it. If you like the video, like, I don't know, like it, subscribe to my channel if you'd like. I don't really like talking about that kind of stuff, but if you'd like to, that'd really help out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.